Hello and welcome back to JJC Reptiles. Today in this video we're going to be talking about do leopard geckos drop their tails. So, the three most asked questions about leopard geckos and their tails is, do they drop their tails? How often do they drop their tails? And what causes them to drop their tails? Now the first question is, do they drop their tails? Yes, they do. I'll show a picture right here of a leopard gecko with no tail, and it's regenerating. When the gecko drops their tails, it regenerates, and it'll look like deformed and weird. I personally never had a leopard gecko drop their tail, but you can pick a leopard gecko up by their tail. As long as you're towards the base of the tail, like right here, see? It's not dropping. The gecko's okay. Now, most breeders do this tactic to check for ovulations and gender the gecko. Now, I don't necessarily really just dangle my gecko in the air. What I do is when I get it out of a tub, I'll pick it up by its tail and I'll put it right in my hand. I never put too much pressure on a leopard gecko's tail, so I am not harming the gecko. The tail is where its fat storage is, and this is where they store all their nutrients and their energy. And this gecko is kind of squirmy. The second question is, how often do leopard geckos drop their tails? Now, it doesn't happen often. It usually happens with like newborns when they get stressed out and scared. They'll drop their tails. Now, usually they'll drop their tails because they're just scared, or they just feel like they need to get away, and that's natural for a reptile when they're born. That's why they hatch in clutches and they just scatter so they don't get eaten by predators. It's a really cool self-defense mechanism for fight or flight, because when they drop their tails, a predator is gonna think that it's the head or whatever, grab the tail, gecko runs away, and it's safe. The third question is, what causes a leopard gecko to drop their tails? Now, I already explained that they feel threatened and will drop their tails, but that's not the only case, really. If you pick them up by their tail, they're squirming around trying to get away from you, just let them. Don't hold them by their tails, because there's a chance that they'll drop their tail. That's really the only thing, is like if you're just putting pressure on the tail and it's trying to get away, it'll drop its tail and run, because it feels like there's a predator grabbing its tail. I had a friend that had a leopard gecko, and they dropped something on its tail. Tail completely went off, and they ran away. The gecko ran, and it regenerated perfectly fine. It just looks deformed, but that's really the only things that happen to a leopard gecko's tail, is they ever feel threatened or you're just putting too much pressure on it. I pick up all my geckos like this. I always do. I feel like it's the quickest way how to hold a gecko, because you got to go to tub and got to clean a leopard gecko's tub and check for ovulations, instead of just trying to pick it up and it's running away like this. Instead, all it takes, and I'm just gonna let him run. All it takes is, gecko's chill. Gecko ain't squirming much. But if I try picking it up right here, see? I noticed that they run away less when you're grabbing it by its tail, because you're just picking up the gecko by its stomach, and the gecko doesn't really like that. As long as you're just not putting too much pressure on the leopard gecko's tail, they'll be perfectly fine. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share the video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.